we will study laws of motion. Before seeing the laws of motion, there is need that what is meant by motion. Motion means, suppose here is one person. This person is walking towards the tree. This person is walking towards the tree. Means what will happen? And there is another one person who is looking to this fellow. Then this person is walking towards the tree and this person is stationary, means he is looking to him. Then what is happening? There is a continuous change in the position of this person. There is a continuous change in the position of this person with respect to observer. That is called a motion. So I am going to write down what is meant by motion. There is continuous change in the position of object with respect to observer is called motion. Do you understand? Continuous change in the position of the object. Continuous change in the position of the object with respect to observer, that is called motion. Then this motion, when there is a motion in the body or in the object, then what is happening? That two things are happening. Means this fellow is when walking towards the tree, it means that he is going to cover some distance. Am I right? Yes, he is going to cover the distance. And when distance is covered, means there is displacement taken place. So motion causes displacement and covering of the distance. Therefore, then here we have to see about what is meant by distance. What is meant by distance and displacement? What is meant by distance and what is meant by displacement? So look here, distance means what? Here this fellow who is walking means from initial point A, and when he reaches at the point B, it means that he has actually traveled the path. So length of distance means what? Length of actual path traveled by object is called distance. What I told? Length of actual path traveled by object is called distance. Now then, what is meant by displacement? Displacement means when there is a distance covered by the object from initial point to finishing point. From initial point to finishing point. So here I am going to write displacement means distance covered by body or minimum distance covered by an object from initial point to finishing point. Understand what is meant by distance and displacement? Distance means length of actual path traveled by the object, and displacement means distance covered by the body from initial point to finishing point. Understand? Now, then this distance, suppose distance is covered from point A to B, that is suppose 10 meter or centimeter. Means distance, what is the unit of distance? Units of distance is meter, kilometer, centimeter, any. Any means meter, kilometer, centimeter, these are the units of the distances. Then these distance is covered by the body, we can write 10 centimeter, we can write 10 kilometer, we can write 10 meter also. Then this, we can measure this distance, and this distance is never negative or distance is never zero. But here this displacement is sometimes, though distance is covered by the object, then also displacement may be zero. Displacement may be zero. Why displacement may be zero, do you know? Can you tell me? Its reason is that suppose now object or this person who is traveling towards the B, he comes till B, and from B again he comes towards the A. Means what happened? The point from which he traveled, again he comes at its original place. Means what is displacement? That is zero. Or here, when body moves along the circle, means suppose this is the initial point A, then you can suppose one person is walking around this circle, then he will come from A to B, B to C, and C to at last A. Then how much distance is covered by the person? That you can calculate the distance covered by person is equal to circumference of circle, means 2 pi r. Okay. Then, but here person who started from the initial point A, again he comes at the point A only, means this displacement becomes zero. Understand? Displacement will become zero. Now, if you don't have any problem about the motion, displacement, etc., then we are going further that there are distance, displacement, or velocity, or meter, centimeter, whatever the units, etc., we are taking. Then these are divided into two quantities. There are number of physical quantities in the physics. Then these physical quantities are divided into two groups. Their classification is made as a scalar quantity, and second one is the vector quantity. Understand what I told? Scalar quantity and vector quantity. Therefore, now here we will study what is meant by scalar quantity. The quantity definition is the quantity which is described by its unit alone. Its unit alone is called scalar quantity. Yes, do you understand what I told? Now, means, for example, I walked a 10 kilometer distance. I walked a 10 kilometer distance. By 10 kilometer, one can judge how much distance is covered. Means we get complete sense by only its unit. My weight is 1000 kg. Means you can just imagine that 1000 kg means what will be his height, what will be his nature, what will be his total body size. Means just one can understand by its unit. Therefore, those quantities are described with their units only, that are called as scalar quantities. Now, what is meant by vector quantity? Quantities which are described with units as well as its direction is called vector quantity. Understand? So here distance, speed, these are the examples of scalar quantity. Then what are the examples of the vector quantity? Vector quantities examples are displacement, velocity. Okay, mass, here it is mass, you may take here mass. So look here, scalar quantity means what I am going to tell you, that quantity which is described by its unit only, that is called a scalar quantity. Vector quantity means which are described by its unit as well as their direction, that is called a vector quantity. Its examples are displacement and velocity. Displacement, velocity, acceleration. Here acceleration is also an example of the vector quantity. Now then we have to study here displacement means what just I have told you. Now we have to study what is meant by velocity. So displacement means what? Displacement means, or before looking the velocity, there is need that we should have to study about speed. What is meant by speed? Speed means what? Distance covered by an object in unit time. Distance covered by an object in unit time is called speed. So therefore the formula of calculation of speed is distance upon time. What is the unit of then speed? Unit of speed in MKS system, there are two systems, MKS or SI system and CGS system. Then in this MKS system, speed is measured in meter per second, kilometer per second, and here in CGS system, centimeter per second. Then this speed is what? Speed means distance covered by body or distance covered by an object in a unit time. Unit time means how much? It has no limit. It is from 1 second till light years, means many light years also. Understand? Here, 1 second, 1 minute, 1 hour, 1 day, number of days, light years, etc. So distance covered by an object in unit time is called speed. Then what is meant by velocity? Velocity means here we have to, this when we are going in any one direction, is if there is a distance covered by a body, distance covered by an object in a particular direction, distance covered by an object in a particular direction is called velocity. In short, there is a displacement that place. So rate of change of displacement. Simple definition of velocity is that rate of change of displacement. Rate of change of displacement is called velocity. Then speed is a scalar quantity and velocity is a vector quantity. So what is the formula to calculate velocity? We can calculate velocity is equal to displacement upon time. Understand what I told? Now here then this speed, velocity, displacement, just we have studied about this, we have taken information about it. Now we have to take the information about speed and direction, effect of speed and direction on the velocity. So how does speed and direction makes effect on velocity? Now I will take one example here. We are going to study about effects of speed and direction on velocity. Suppose now myself I stood here. From here I am going in straight direction. I am going in a straight direction. Or I am coming back in straight direction. Then what will happen? Now distance is covered, means displacement took place and rate of change of displacement means velocity. Then velocity when body or any object covers distance in a straight line. Means in a straight line, if there is a change take place, then if you increase your speed, velocity will increase. There is no change in direction. Direction is straight. When there is a straight direction and displacement take place, then speed is increased. If speed is increased, velocity will increase. If speed is reduced, velocity will also reduce. Understand what is the effect of speed when object covers in a straight line? If there is a speed increase, velocity will increase. If speed decrease, velocity will decrease. If there is no change in the direction. Now we will see that suppose instead of straight line, if there is a circular path, and speed is same. Suppose speed is same. Means when body or when object moves in circular path, and its speed is same, then what is happening? Every time there will be change in direction. Change in direction means what is happening? When there is a change in direction, then velocity will change. There is change in the velocity. If speed is constant and if direction is changed, then there is change in velocity. Now suppose there are turning roads. In a turning roads, what is happening? In turning roads, road is like this. Then what will happen? If there is a steep turn, whenever there is a turn, then what is happening? That velocity will change, because if turn comes, this we have to reduce the speed. With the same speed, however you are driving on the straight road, there is no need. You can, if you increase it up, or if you want to go with the same speed, you may go. But if there is a turn, heavy turn, then there we are unable to take the turn with the same speed. Means there is need to reduce the speed. So whenever there is a turning road, in the turning road, then speed will, what will happen? Speed will reduce and direction will change. There will be change in direction. If direction is changed and speed is also changed, means what will happen? Velocity will also change. Velocity will also change. Again you went in a straight direction till here, and again there is a turn now. And suppose again there is a turn, means what is happening? That there is a, whenever we are taking turn, whenever we are taking turn, that time there is need to reduce the speed. And if speed is reduced, then velocity, there is a change in the velocity. Now we are going to study about what is meant by uniform motion and non-uniform motion. Uniform motion and non-uniform motion. Uniform motion means what? Suppose one person who is walking for first 1 minute and he covers distance of 10 meter. Then again he walks further, and then in next minute also he walked 10 meter distance. Means whenever he walks, means one person walks for 10 minutes. And 10 minutes, if 10 equal parts are made, 10 equal parts of times are made, then, and if he covers same distance in every minute, if any person covers the same distance in same intervals of time, that is called a uniform motion. Same distance, what I am writing, same distance covered by an object in equal intervals of time, in equal intervals of time, is called uniform motion. Uniform motion is what you understand. What I have told you that if there are 10 minutes and we have made 10 equal parts, and in every equal part, if 1 meter distance is covered or 10 meter distance is covered, means equal intervals of time, equal distance is covered in equal intervals of time, that is called uniform motion. Now just you can imagine what is meant by non-uniform motion. What will happen in non-uniform motion? Yes, who can tell? Yes, can you tell? Yes. There is no equal distance covered in equal intervals of time. What is definition? When there is no equal distance is covered by an object in equal intervals of time is called non-uniform motion. Can you tell me example of non-uniform motion? There is a simple example is of train. Motion of train. What happens when train leaves the station? Then slowly train takes speed. And what happens that when station comes again, the train who was coming with the 80 km speed per 80 km per hour speed, but that if same speed is coming in the when station comes, then that time its speed is get reduced. So motion of the train is the best example of non-uniform motion. And motion of the earth is rotating around its axis itself, or earth takes revolution around the sun. The motion of the earth is example of uniform motion. Okay. See about non-uniform velocity and uniform velocity. Uniform velocity means what? I am going to write your definition. Displacement when equal displacement take place in equal intervals of time. In equal intervals of time is called uniform velocity. Is called uniform velocity. Now, what is meant by non-uniform velocity? From here it is clear that when there is no equal displacement takes place in equal intervals of time is called non-uniform velocity. In short, how is this? Suppose in first unit test you got 70% marks. In second unit test you got 70% marks. If you got 70% marks in terminal exam and even in annual exam also, if you have got 70% mark, means in every exam if you have got same percentage, that is called a uniform progress. So like that, whenever there is equal displacement take place in equal intervals of time, that is called a uniform velocity. And this velocity is measured by the formula displacement upon time. Just we have studied about uniform velocity, non-uniform velocity. Now we have to see about average speed. What is meant by average speed? Average speed means that we will study. Suppose for first 1 hour you have driven your vehicle by 100 km speed. After next hour, if you have driven it by 80 km per hour, and in third hour, if you have driven by 70 km per hour, and for next 10 minutes, if you have driven for only 10 km per hour, then what will happen? That you should do the sum of all these kilometers. And here 1 hour, here 1 hour, here 1 hour, here 10 minutes. This is what happened. 3 hours, 10 minutes, and here 180, 70, sum of 100 plus 80 plus 70 plus 10 kilometer, and here 3 6 are 80. This total 190 minutes will come. And then by division, this what will happen? Average speed means total distance covered by object divided by total time taken to cover the distance. That is called average speed. Similar way, what about average velocity? Average velocity means what? Average velocity means total displacement upon total time. That is called average velocity. Then what is the units of velocity? Meter per second. Meter per second is the unit of velocity. Now we have to study about their graph. This just we have studied that uniform velocity or uniform motion. Uniform velocity, or I am taking here motion, and here writing non-uniform velocity oblique motion. Suppose for first 1 hour or for first 10 minutes you have covered a distance of 10. In next after 10 minutes there is a gap of 10. If you have covered 20, for 30, for 40. Means however the time limit 10 minutes time, there is a gap interval of 10 minutes. Here is a interval of 10 minutes. Here is a interval of 10 minutes. And here distance covered by the body in first 10 minutes 10 meter. In second it should become total become 40 now. This 10 then 10 plus 10 is in next also. If it is same distance, everywhere same distance is covered by the body. And if we take the graph here, means here you have to take your time, and here it is distance covered. Then what happens that its line will come straight graph. Graph of this line, graph of this uniform velocity or non-uniform velocity will come straight line. Why? Because in equal intervals of time, for first 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, what happens? For here it is 10, is 1 point will come. Here will come 20, here will come 30, here will come 40, and then by this way you will get graph of uniform velocity or graph of uniform speed or uniform motion is always straight line. And according to this, there are 3 equations made by Newton, and that 3 are that I will tell you about 3 equations about the laws of motion. What are the equations about the laws of motion? First is that V is equal to U plus AT. Second one is that S is equal to UT plus half AT square, and third is that V square is equal to U square plus 2AS. Means what? This first equation of Newton's first law is related to velocity and time. Newton's first law, according to Newton's first law, there is a relationship told between velocity and time. In second equation, there is a relation of displacement with the time. And in case of the third equation, velocity and the displacement. Understand? These are the three important equations. V is equal to u plus at, s is equal to ut plus half at square, v square is equal to u square plus 2as. When these three equations are related to velocity to time, distance and velocity and displacement respectively, we can derive this equation with the help of specific graph. But these much big questions will not be asked to you in exam, and that's why I am going in the next point that we are going to study about Newton's laws. What is first law of Newton that we will see? First law of motion. First law of motion, suppose now here in my hand this is a duster. Then this duster, if you told that move and go to Bombay, if you told to this duster that fall down, will it fall down? What are the chances of falling down? If we only told and if we do not apply any force on it, it will not fall or it will not go to Bombay. Now I stood here like this and no one has given to me order. Then I will stand in same position only. Am I right or wrong? Means if body is in the state of rest, if object is in the position of the rest, and if external unbalanced force is not used, it will remain in a same condition. That is called Newton's first law. Understand? First law of motion means what? Now there is a chair. If I told to the chair move, that chair will not move. If I use the external unbalanced force, then this chair will move. This motion is taken place in the object if external unbalanced force is used. So what is there then? There is no change in the position of object if external unbalanced force is not used. That is called Newton's first law. Yes, you may write a different word also. You may write a different word. What? There is the position of object is always the same either at rest or in uniform motion if no external unbalanced force is used on it. This is called Newton's first law of motion. So once again I am going to tell you that this board can fall down if I use the external force, unbalanced force. Otherwise, this board is at its rest, then it will be in the rest. That fan is going means if we do not switch off, then that fan will continue its uniform motion. Means this is one kind of inertia. What is meant by inertia? Every object has a tendency not to move itself or not to change its position of rest or position of uniform motion. That is also called inertia, and this is called first law of motion. Now we are going to study about second law of motion. Second law of motion. What is meant by second law of motion? Before of it, we have to see what is meant by momentum. What is meant by momentum? Momentum means what? Momentum means product of mass into velocity. Mass into velocity means when we apply the force, and if there is a displacement take place, then that is called a momentum. Then this momentum is directly proportional to, see, momentum is directly proportional to the force applied on it, and it takes place in the direction of the force. Momentum is directly proportional to, momentum is directly proportional to force applied on the object, and it takes place in the direction of force. That is called Newton's second law of motion. Means suppose if you increase the force, there will be the more. If force is increased, momentum will increase. If force is decreased, momentum will be decreased. So F is equal to ma. F is directly proportional. We can write like this. Force is directly proportional to, momentum is directly proportional to the force. So F is equal to ma, and thus then we can calculate the momentum. Now we are going to study about momentum. Means capital M is equal to, it is product of mass into velocity. Then this momentum is related to Newton's second law of motion. So momentum is, what is second law of motion? Momentum is directly proportional to the applied force on object, and it takes place in the direction of force. Then there is one more information, means momentum is equal to mass into velocity. Momentum is directly proportional to the applied force, and it is always takes place in the direction of the force. This momentum is also always changes, and therefore there is one more law of conservation of momentum. We have to study about law of conservation of momentum. So what is law of conservation of momentum? I will tell you with one example. Suppose there is one flat, smooth, plane surface. And on this smooth surface, here we have kept some balls. Here, suppose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 balls are kept. Now here there is one ball. If I struck this one ball, then what happens? One ball will release from this one. What is happening? That if one ball is struck from one corner, then from this 5, only one ball will come out. Suppose if you took here 2 balls, and if you struck these 2 balls, then from here 2 balls will run. Means collision momentum before collision is always equal to momentum after collision. Understand what I told? Momentum before collision is when one ball is struck up, only one ball goes out. If 2 balls are struck up from here, if 2 balls are struck up from one corner, then 2 balls will go away. Means collision, that is momentum before collision and momentum after collision are always equal, and m1 v1 plus m2 v2 is equal to m1 u1 plus m2 u2 is the law of conservation of momentum. Means suppose two vehicles are coming from opposite direction. Two vehicles are coming from opposite direction, and if they collide, the momentum at the time of collision and the momentum after the collision is also always equal. Is when two vehicles are collided on each other with same speed, they are thrown away. What I told, simple example is that one vehicle comes from left, from this side, and one vehicle comes from this side. One is coming from east and another one is coming from west. And if they collide on each other, whatever there was a speed before collision, with same speed they are thrown away. That is called a law of conservation of momentum. We are going to study about the Newton's third law of motion. Newton's third law of motion. What is Newton's third law of motion? That we will see. When force is applied on the object, I am using now force on this object, but this force is also applying its own force on the previous action. Means using force on one object, using force, this is one object, this object is applying the force on this duster. Means this is called action force, but this duster is also applying its own force on the previous object, that is called a reaction force. So action force and reaction force are always equal and opposite to each other. Means suppose if you have given slap to one fellow, anyone, then that fellow will also give you one slap. If you abuse, then he will also abuse. Means action and reaction are always equal and opposite to each other. That is the law of Newton's third law of motion. Now here we have to take little information about this acceleration and circular motion. Here suppose acceleration means what? Acceleration, definition of acceleration. Acceleration means rate of change of velocity. Rate of change of velocity. This acceleration is equal to final velocity minus initial velocity. Acceleration is always denoted by letter A. A is equal to V minus U upon T. A is equal to V minus U upon T. Acceleration means final velocity minus uniform velocity. Now acceleration means rate of change of. Means what happens? Suppose here it is one inclined pipe is kept down. And in this inclined pipe we are going to release one ball. When ball is released from the top, actually at initial point its velocity is 0, but however its velocity, however it covers the distance, what will happen? Its velocity will increase. Means at the middle its velocity is different one. However it comes down, its velocity is different one. When it comes, however it goes down, then its velocity increases. So rate of change of velocity is called acceleration. Now circular motion means what? Circular motion means, suppose here in your textbook there is one rectangle given. Means how many sides are there in rectangle? There are 4 sides. Then if sides are increased, what happens? It becomes pentagon. Then what will happen? Its a direction, means its a direction as well as speed will change. Now here it is like this direction. When it comes at the corner, then its direction will change, its speed will change. Means however you are going to increase the number of sides, then at last octagon, heptagon, like that, when we will increase the number of sides, at last you will get one circle, and when any object moves along with the circle in a uniform motion, that is called a circular motion. That is called a circular motion. What I told, once again I am going to repeat you that when body moves in a circle, when body covers path in a circle, that is called a circular motion. Here, once again I am going to repeat that whatever I have taught to you. First, we have studied today about motion. Motion means what? There is a continuous change. There is a continuous change in the position of the object with respect to observer. That is called a motion. Motion, uniform motion and non-uniform motion are the two types. Besides that, circular motion, straight linear motion. Linear motion means what? Linear motion means when body covers its distance in a straight line. That is called a uniform linear motion. Linear motion means where object covers distance in a straight line, that is called a linear motion. Then you have studied about circular motion. Circular motion means when body covers along with the circle, when body covers distance along the circle, that is called a circular motion. Now uniform motion means what? Uniform motion means when body goes in a straight line and when body covers equal distance in equal intervals of time, that is called a uniform motion. Non-uniform motion means when body does not cover equal distance in equal intervals of time, that is called a non-uniform motion. And besides that, now then afterwards from this motion we have taken information about what is meant by distance and what is meant by velocity. Distance means what? Distance means actual path covered by the body. Actual path covered by the body is called a distance. And displacement means minimum distance from initial point to final point. Minimum distance covered by the object, from initial point to final point. Then afterwards we have seen about velocity. What is meant by velocity? Before looking the velocity, we have studied about speed. Speed means distance covered by the object. Speed means distance covered by the object in unit time, that is called a speed. And speed is always calculated by the formula distance S is equal to distance upon time. Then we have seen velocity means what? Velocity means when body covers the distance, in a particular direction, means rate of change of displacement is called velocity. Velocity is equal to displacement upon time is the formula. Then however we have seen uniform, non-uniform. Similar way we have studied about the uniform velocity means what, non-uniform velocity means what. Afterwards we have seen about its graph. If there is always uniform velocity, then its graph is always straight line. Then acceleration means what? Where the acceleration means the rate of change of velocity is called acceleration. I told you that there is one inclined plane taken or one pipe is taken, and from this inclined pipe, if we are going to release the ball, if we are rolling the ball, then this velocity of this ball is increases as it comes down. So rate of change of velocity is called acceleration. Then afterwards we have studied about Newton's laws of motion. What is meant? I have told you about with example about the Newton's first law of motion. First law of motion means what? If body is at its rest, if any object is at its rest, or if object is in uniform circular motion or any motion, then if no external force is applied on the object, it does not change its position. So tendency of not to change its position or tendency of the motion, this tendency of the every object is called inertia, and first law is related to inertia. Second law is that I have told you that momentum is directly proportional to the applied force. Momentum, second law means what? Momentum of the object is directly proportional to the applied force. And the third law is that every action and reactions are always equal and opposite to each other. These are the three laws of the Newton. By this way, your lesson is completed. Once again, after going in house, you should have to read it. If any problem, you may ask me. Thanks for watching our videos. I am again requesting you that you should subscribe channel, you should tell to your friends, and please press or hit the bell icon and get the latest uploaded videos. Thanks for watching.